A lot of crazy things went down in 1968, including the formation of the NFL Century Division. What did the Cleveland Browns, St. Louis Cardinals, New Orleans Saints, and Pittsburgh Steelers have in common? Absolutely nothing in terms of geographical proximity. Prior to 1967, the NFL only consisted of Eastern and Western conferences, but in 1967, the NFL created the Capital Division, which consisted of East Coast teams, the Central Division, which consisted of Upper Midwest teams, the Coastal Division, which had 2 teams on each coast, and the Century Division, which was a hodgepodge. All 4 divisions started with the letter C and contained 7 letters. In 1967, the New York Giants were assigned to the Century Division, but moved to the Capital Division in 1968, but then returned to play in the Century Division again in 1969. Go figure. Why did the NFL create these 4 divisions? To prepare for the merger with the AFL for the start of the 1970s season. The Steelers finished below 500 for the 5th straight year and finished in last place. Number 10, Kent Nix, started 3 games, completed 43.1% of his passes, and threw 4 touchdowns against 8 interceptions. Number 17, Dick Shiner, started the rest of the games and had a 10-year career-best 18 touchdown passes versus 17 interceptions in completing 48.7% of his passes. Neither quarterback consistently lit up the scoreboard as the Steelers finished 13th out of 16 NFL teams in points scored. They had the most passing attempts, but the 6th most passing yards and passing touchdowns. Dick Hook was the Steelers' star running back, and he made the Pro Bowl based upon his 858 rushing yards, excellent 4.9 yards per carry, along with his 253 receiving yards. He was a terrific passer, too. He completed 7 of 16 passes for 188 yards, an incredible 26.9 yards per completion. Dick Hook was one of the big reasons that fans came to the stadium to see. Running back Rocky Bleier was a rookie in 1968, and he ran 6 times for 39 yards, along with 3 receptions for 68 yards. He'd become a 4-time Super Bowl champion. Wide receiver Roy Jefferson was magnificent, as he hauled in 58 passes for 1,074 yards, a fine 18.5 average, and 11 touchdowns. The Steelers' 2 wins came in a 6-3 tug-of-war versus the Eagles and a 41-21 blowout versus the Falcons. The Steelers' 41 points were 13 points higher than their next highest-scoring game. Steelers' defense was woeful. They gave up the most points in the NFL, along with the most passing yards and the second most passing touchdowns. They only had 26 sacks, which told of an extremely weak pass rush. The Saints finished in third place, and head coach Tom Fears loved the passing game, so he had quarterback Billy Kilmer air it out. They had the second most passing attempts in the NFL. Unfortunately, they only had the 8th most passing yards and 10th most passing touchdowns. Kilmer threw to second-year pro wide receiver number 42, John Gilliam, and in 11 starts he completed 53% of his passes for 2,060 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. Kilmer was a gutsy quarterback who had little regard for his body. He was a terrific competitor who took a licking and kept on ticking. Battling Billy had an okay season, but Carl Sweetan, who started 3 games, was horrible, as he only had 1 touchdown pass, 9 interceptions, a 34.6 completion percentage, and a nearly invisible 12.6 quarterback rating. Don McCall was the Saints' only rusher with more than 350 yards. Only 5 foot 11 inches and 195 pounds, he played like a much bigger running back. Dan Abramowitz was the Saints' star receiver. He had 54 catches, 890 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He was a 17th round draft pick in 1967 and so slow that he refused to let pro scouts time him in college. He had to run the 40-yard dash the first day of Saints training camp and was so nervous that he ran a 5.1. He ended up catching 50 passes on the season and led the NFL in catches with 73 in 1969, but strangely didn't make the Pro Bowl team even though he made first-team All-Pro. Defensive end Doug Atkins had 12.5 sacks at age 38, which is remarkable. In his 16th season, he made second-team All-Pro. Defensive tackle Dave Rowe was the Saints' only Pro Bowl player and was in the second year of his 12-year career. Overall, the Saints' defense wasn't very good. They allowed 25 touchdown passes and only intercepted 16 passes on the entire season. Cardinals finished in second place and had a fine offense as they scored the fourth most points in the league. Jim Hart was in his third year as an undrafted free agent, and he would play 19 NFL seasons. He had a low 44.3 completion percentage, but his 15 touchdown passes and 18 interceptions were in line with league averages. Hart rushed 19 times for 20 yards and 6 touchdowns. Willis Crenshaw was the team leader with 813 rushing yards, and he tied with Hart for the most rushing touchdowns with 6. Unfortunately, he led the NFL in fumbles. The Cardinals' top aerial target was tight end Jackie Smith, who made second-team All-Pro when he led St. Louis with 49 catches and 789 receiving yards. While free safety Larry Wilson had his normal stellar season, the secondary overall was not good, as they allowed 23 touchdown passes but only intercepted 13 passes, which was second to last in the league. Chuck LaTourette was the NFL's all-purpose yardage leader. He led the NFL in both kickoff and punt return yardage. All he did was play defensive back, return punts and kickoffs, and oh yeah, he was the Cardinals' punter too. His 41.6 average was the fourth best in the NFL. The Browns had the best combination of offense and defense within the Century Division. They had the second most yards gained and touchdowns scored in the league, and they were led by quarterback Bill Nelson, who finished third in the NFL MVP vote. He started 11 games, passed for 19 touchdowns, and was intercepted only 10 times. Tight end number 89, Milt Morin, made the Pro Bowl with 43 catches, 792 yards, 5 touchdowns, and an excellent 18.4 yards per catch. Leroy Kelly powered the Browns' rushing attack. He led the NFL in rushing yards with 1,289, rushing touchdowns with 16, and total touchdowns with 20, as he made first-team All-Pro and finished third in the NFL MVP voting. "1968 was defensive end Bill Glass's final season. He had 87 sacks in 11 years. Number 24, Ernie Kellerman, was one of 3 Browns defensive backs to make the Pro Bowl. Erich Barnes and Ben Davis were the others. Paul Warfield was the big home run hitter. He scored 12 touchdowns on 50 receptions, which were good for 1,067 yards, and a sparkling 21.3 average. Kicker Don Cockcroft finished second in the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year vote. He made 75% of his field goal attempts, and he performed place-kicking and punting duties for the Browns through the 1976 season. He finished with the 8th most points scored all time at the time of his retirement after the 1980 season. The Browns avenged a Week 2 28-7 loss to the Cowboys at Dallas by beating them 31-20 in the divisional playoffs. However, the Colts avenged a Week 6 30-20 loss to the Browns at Baltimore by trouncing them 34-0 in the NFL championship game.